So we're out here at our Balancing Rock project. This is an incredible build of PHX architecture. And you can see behind me, we are standing here just off of the garage. This is gonna be the access into the house from the garage, coming into laundry and some of the secondary bedrooms. And of course, we have a little wet bar area outside. Now, this is our ICF build. We've had other videos with Fox Blocks ICF. I wanna talk a little bit about how we do our window bucks and systems. So with all doors and windows, so all exterior doors and windows with ICF, because again, ICF, a lot of times people ask, well, do you do ICF on the interior of the home? Now, ICF is typically more expensive. When you're dealing with concrete, it's more expensive than wood framing. The bang for the buck, you're thinking of all the benefits though, right? From bug control, right? Pest control, sound, dust, the pollutants, energy efficiency. You have 4 huge benefits when you're going to ICF into controlling the environment and controlling the home. Now, with that said, when you're doing windows, you have concrete. You can't really move. You can't adjust framing, right, if your window openings are off. So this is really important that we're working with our window manufacturer who's supplying the build. And it's really important that we're coordinating with them so we understand those rough openings. Now, these window bucks are typically built with either plywood or LVL. We're trying to keep something that's going to be straight, not warped. We're not going to be using OSB. So plywood or LVL are very common. We're going to build these on the floor. So we have a sample here of one large fixed window that's going to be constructed. And those are built to the rough opening calcs that we have from the window supplier and our architect. And now as we install these, now we have our window bucks in place. This gives us our backing that we can set all the windows in. We can do all the flashing. We can get those sealed. And now we have those totally enclosed and sealed up for the client. And we also have the necessary space in case we have to adjust that window right in that opening. Now ICF, as you can see, this is a corner piece. So again, what makes it really easy is we have this corner ICF right here to go around the wall like we'd have here in this corner. We have some here off of the garage. And so we can continue our Lego blocks, if you will. And of course here, these make it easy because these are our ties. As we're running rebar, you can see we have little slots. So the rebar just sits right through these little channels as the rebar runs through on the horizontal and of course we're on a vertical. And then they tie right in, makes it super easy. And then later we can drill into those because that gives us good backing and support. What's really important is this one we're working with the ICF specialist who's been doing all of our installs. Now, the bracing is extremely important. As you can imagine, one of the issues anytime you're pouring vertical concrete walls is blowout. For those of you that have seen our board form concrete videos, we have to make sure that those are formed and really tight, that we have the support necessary so that we don't have blowout. And what I mean by that is the weight of concrete as it's pouring down, as you're pouring concrete down, the weight of that, and you have a vibrator that's vibrating that concrete so that the mix is properly installed. That way you're not affecting the quality and you're not affecting the integrity of the mix. It has to be vibrated and make sure that it's installed uniformly. And so because of that, there's just a lot of movement, there's a lot of weight, and you don't want the styrofoam, right, and the Fox blocks to have any blowout. So we do these in lifts, and so what's kind of nice is like when we did this stem wall, so this was our first stem wall poured. You can see this one's hollow. I mean, you can kind of hear that sound. That's not poured yet, it will be. This one's actually really solid here. And so as we do our stem wall, we're gonna pour to about right here. It's typically about halfway up because we want a good connection. When we have concrete to concrete, we wanna make sure that it's not at the seam where you can't have blowout or you can't have issues in the future. So that stem wall that goes way below ground here, we're gonna pour up to here. We have rebar now sticking up just like you're doing a block wall. We set our new blocks up, and now when we pour that new concrete into the wall, it's going to come down and seal nice and tight about halfway through that stem wall, which really gives us some support. We also have bracing here, and all throughout we have our bracing here. What's really convenient about the bracing, not only does this give the wall support we need to the exterior wall, but you can see here that we can run scaffolding on it. So now as we're going up layers and now we're pumping concrete, when the concrete comes and we're pumping that down, we have an easy access down for our crews to be running, and it also works as a safety rail because at the top of the bracing we can put in the 2x4s that just slide right through and it creates a safety rail. So it's kind of 2 in 1. You have bracing to support the wall on either side to make sure we don't have the blowout and we don't have any tipping and everything stays level and plumb, and then the safety aspect of the scaffolding. So really convenient. Again, ICF, huge fan of this product. We've used it on our net zero projects. We have some other net zero builds coming up that'll all be ICF. There is a cost, as I mentioned, because there's a little bit more labor and cost with concrete. And then for the mechanicals, there's more costs as they're coming through and they have to use a hot knife so that we can run, electrical and low voltage and in some cases plumbing on those exterior walls. So again, make sure you're working with a good vendor, or if you're trying to do ICF yourself, which some following out there have reached out on Instagram and YouTube about doing their own ICF. They've done that and they've worked with a supplier to supply all the bracing and backing.